Santa Ana, El Salvador, March 1963. The final whistle goes, and a team that nobody in the world gave a chance has just beaten Mexico. No trophy is lifted, no anthem plays. Nobody outside this little stadium even notices. But by the reckoning of football's own fans, this tiny Caribbean side, a country of barely 200,000 people, has just become, unofficially, the best team on earth. The mythical champions of the world. For exactly 4 days, before the country itself, one day, simply vanishes from the map. This is the story of a team that touched the top of the world, and then watched the very nation it played for be erased, wiped off the map completely. It sounds impossible, a world champion with no country left to celebrate it. But every word of it is true, and to tell you how it happened, I have to take you from a forgotten afternoon in 1963 all the way to a stadium in America this very summer. Because right now, as you watch this, the heirs of that vanished country are walking out at a World Cup, the smallest nation that has ever reached one. This is the story of the Netherlands Antilles, and how a dream that should have died came back 60 years later to finish itself. But to understand their crown, you have to understand something strange about it first. It was never a trophy. You couldn't hold it, or lift it, or put it in a cabinet. It was an idea, a wonderful, slightly mad idea, invented by football supporters. And it came with one simple, ruthless rule. Think of it like a boxing belt. In boxing, you don't win the world title in a tournament. You take it from the man who already holds it, and then you defend it, fight by fight. A group of football fans took that exact idea and ran it through the entire history of the game. They went all the way back to the very first international ever played, England against Scotland, 1873, called the winner the unofficial world champion, and then followed the title down the decades, match by match. Beat the team that holds it, and the crown is yours. Lose, and it's gone. It has never been a FIFA title. FIFA has nothing to do with it. It lives only on charts the fans keep themselves, a kind of shadow history of football, running quietly underneath the official one. And in March of 1963, that shadow crown happened to be sitting on the heads of Mexico, which brings us to the team that came to take it. The Netherlands Antilles were not really a country the way you picture one. They were a cluster of small islands in the Caribbean, Curaçao, Bonaire, a handful of others, an autonomous nation inside the Kingdom of the Netherlands. A few 100,000 people, scattered across specks of land in a warm blue sea. And in 1963, they sent their footballers to the very first championship of their region, where nobody expected them to do anything at all. And then, one day, they did. The 24th of March, 1963, Santa Ana. The islanders walk out against Mexico, the holders of that mythical crown, and they win, 2-1. It is, by the fans' own reckoning, one of the greatest upsets in the entire history of the unofficial title. And just like that, the rule does its work. The crown passes. A country of barely 200,000 people, the smallest ever to hold it, is, informally, mythically, the champion of the world. But here is the cruelty of it. There was no trophy to lift, no anthem, no medal, no headline, no line in any official record book. The greatest day in their footballing history existed only on a chart kept by fans thousands of miles away. They were world champions, and almost nobody on earth knew it, including, very probably, most of the players themselves. And the crown that arrives like a whisper leaves the same way. 4 days, that is all it lasted. On the 28th of March, they met Costa Rica and lost by a single penalty. 1 kick, and the shadow crown slipped off their heads and moved on down the line exactly as the rule said it must. And that, you would think, is the end of the story. Because what came next was not a rise, it was a long, slow fading. The Netherlands Antilles never qualified for a real World Cup. Not once. For more than half a century, they tried and fell short, tried and fell short. A tiny football nation drifting toward the edge of the map. And then, on the 10th of October 2010, they didn't just drift off it, they were taken off it. The country of the Netherlands Antilles was dissolved, broken up by its own referendums into separate pieces. No war, no disaster. A nation simply, administratively, ceasing to exist. The 4-day champions of the world now had no world to belong to. Their country was gone. So what happens to a team when its nation disappears? Football, it turns out, refused to let it die. When the Netherlands Antilles were dissolved, the largest of those islands, Curaçao, inherited the football team. Not as the same country, politically, the old nation was gone for good. But as its footballing heir, the way Russia carried on the record of the Soviet Union, the way Serbia carried Yugoslavia's. FIFA recognized Curaçao as the successor, and with it went everything. The history, the shirt, and somewhere in the fine print of football's memory, a 4-day-old crown from 1963. For years, nothing came of it. An island of around 150,000 people does not reach World Cups. Too small, the logic always went, to ever truly matter. And then came the 18th of November, 2025. Kingston, Jamaica. The final game of qualifying. Curaçao need 1 point, just one, to do what the Netherlands Antilles never managed in their entire existence. 90 minutes between the smallest nation in the field and the World Cup. They defend for their lives. 0-0. Deep into stoppage time, Jamaica are given a penalty that could break the island's heart, and it is overturned. Taken away by the video review. And when the final whistle finally goes, a country of barely 150,000 people has reached the World Cup. The smallest nation, by people and by land, ever to get there. 6 decades late, they had finished the dream. And the team that finished it tells you everything about what this little place actually is. Almost none of them were born on the island. They grew up 5,000 miles away, in the cold of the Netherlands, the sons and grandsons of people who had once left Curaçao looking for something more. Of the whole squad that made history, just one man was born on the island itself. The rest chose it. They chose the country of their blood over the country of their birth, pulled on its shirt, and carried it to the biggest stage on earth. The man who led them there was 78 years old, the oldest coach ever to reach a World Cup, and during the campaign he had stepped away from the team to care for a sick daughter, before coming back to finish what he'd started. When it was done, he wept. Not for himself, he said, for the joy of the people of Curaçao. On the island, a grandmother turned 97 the day they qualified, having lived her whole life there, on a speck of land that had just told the entire world it existed. And in June 2026, they walked out at the World Cup at last. They were minnows, and the scoreboard said so. The giants of Germany beat them heavily. But in the 21st minute of that very first game, a Curaçao player struck the ball into the net. The first World Cup goal the nation had ever scored. A tiny, defiant flame from a country that, on paper, no longer even exists. That is the thing about the Netherlands Antilles. You can dissolve a country. You can take its name off the map, divide its islands, file it away in an archive. But you cannot quite kill it. Not while, somewhere, someone still pulls on the shirt and plays. A 4-day crown that almost no one remembers. A nation that was erased. And the children of the people who left, carrying both of them all the way back to the summit their grandfathers touched for just 4 days in 1963. Even the smallest place on Earth, even a country that isn't there anymore, can make the whole world stop and watch. If you want another story of a footballing kingdom that rose and fell and refused to be forgotten, this one is for you.